All right. Oh my God, we are back at Crossing the Streams. What's up? How is everybody? I'm sure the whistling is so
They
appreciated.
love us at Wimbledon.
We've got a great show for you today. We've got a return guest, Larry Roberts. Technology error is free. He's here.
That's right.
He's rocking it. We're going to kick it off. We forgot to remind him about the theme song, but we're going to go right into it. And remember, it's to the tune of the Brady Bunch. Go ahead, Larry. Let's do it.
Oh, I'm supposed to sing this? This is
You did it last time.
Okay, this is like my second time. So
I know.
Right, here we go.
Don't worry. There is no expectation.
Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Sal.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff and Ron and Sal and Bob, and then there's Howard. They call it Crossing Streams.
Right.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform, but man, we cross the streams. Here we go.
Here we go.
We
cross the streams. We cross the streams.
That's the
way we do it.
Here.
We cross the
streams.
Oh, that was. It never ends well. It never ends well, does it?
That's so bad.
Oh, we got Jerry. Hello.
Hey, Jerry.
What's going on, Jerry?
Lee, always in the house. What's up?
What's going
Lee?
on, Lee?
But we also got Larry, who I didn't know which graphic to put up. So, Larry, tell us all about your podcast. Tell us.
Yeah. Hey, guys. I appreciate you having me back. This is my second time here. Thank you for bringing me back. I figured after the first one I would never hear from you again, but you still communicate with me on Facebook, so I figured, what the heck, we're still friends. My podcast is called You're the Boss, and it's just that stereotypical entrepreneur podcast, and where I interview other entrepreneurs that have been there, done that, got the T-shirts and the bankruptcies to prove it. So they join me each and every week, and we tell you how you can avoid the common pitfalls in your own entrepreneurial pursuits.
Very cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Very awesome. All right. Just to remind everyone, the drinking game is fully in effect. These were created by Jerry and Carmen, super fans of the show. If anyone drinks on the show, usually Bob, he's not here, he's not, or Sal, you drink. There's a technical issue. Drink. If we forget to say what platform a show is on while we're reviewing it, drink. If they put us up on the screen, if we put you up on the screen, drink. If we forget the actor's name, if Jeff can't get through the rules, drink. All right. Larry's trying to get everyone drunk. So,
what are you drinking? What are you drinking, Larry?
No, this is really innocent, guys. This is just this is a tangerine and wild strawberry Pellegrino. Pellegrino. It's our latest sponsor. No, not really, but
I'm more like a White Claw guy, but I get it. That's good.
At one time, I would have been a White Claw guy. I think I was a Zima guy. That's how old I am.
Let's give a second for our brothers in arms over there in Ukraine, standing with Ukraine. We assume Larry is too.
Sure.
Although he is wearing a red hat, but we'll look past that.
Yeah, there's a different story there. Different story there. So
I tease him about the red hat all the time. It's like not realizing that mustache is out of style.
Ouch.
We're just gonna roast.
What? Why is everybody looking at me? No, it's too funny. So Larry Roberts is now the Larry Roberts. So there we go.
Yeah. I had to succumb to Instagram and actually get a Larry Roberts handle, and there were only so many. I mean, there's a ton of Larry Roberts out there, so there are only so many options I had to choose from. I threw a poll out. I feel like an idiot with the Larry Roberts, but man, that won by a landslide. So I am now the Larry Roberts on Instagram.
Oh, awesome. That's why I was going to tell you the story. So we go out to dinner. We went with another couple, my wife and I, and Tom Frawley, the Frawleys. And so the reservation was under his name. So they go, Tom Frawley, and they repeat it back, Tom Frawley. I'm like, the Tom Frawley. And she kind of pauses. I'm like, like,
Makes all the difference.
and every time they would do it, I would do that. And it's like, it gives an air of confidence, and they think you're somebody, and then you become somebody, title
So
yourself like the role you want to be.
the Larry Roberts on Instagram, do you have to get verified with the check? I mean, that seems like something that the verification gods would want to check out for you.
It does seem like that, but no, I can just be the Larry Roberts. You could be the Baron von Lippy Pants if you'd like, and no one's going to say anything about it.
No one's going to say anything.
Yeah.
So we will not be talking about the Oscars. I think that's pretty
overdone now. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I don't know how much longer it's going to go.
But yeah, so let's talk about instead last week's episode. This is episode, believe it or not, 68 of Crossing the Streams on our YouTube channel. You can head over there, search the Jeff Dwoskin Show. There's 67, working on 68 hours as we make our way through the day today. Hours of TV binge watching suggestions, and a few that you should avoid from Ron Lippett himself. Last week, we talked about Black Crab, Genius, a Kanye trilogy, Bad Vegan, This Is Us, and Pam and Tommy. It was an excellent show. So definitely catch that. The full thing is all online right now. What we're talking about today is Larry is back to talk about Teen Wolf. We're going to talk about Family Tree, Draft Day, and Bikram, Yogi, Guru, Predator. Did I say it wrong?
It's just so ridiculous. Anyway,
I saw. So you know what? I want to jump right into that one. Let's talk about Bikram, Yogi, Guru, Predator. Take it away.
Let me take it. First off, it is legitimately it's Bikram.
Bikram, yeah, right?
Bikram. So I don't imagine you guys are heavy yoga practitioners. I don't want to make any judgments or any generalizations, but have you guys taken yoga before?
No,
I have taken it. Yes.
Yeah,
I did it once. Yeah,
I was promptly escorted out.
Before COVID, I actually started getting into it. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Bikram because Bikram does represent a very specific channel within the yoga universe. But I think that the yoga world is so developed at this point. It's so ingrained in Western culture, and particularly American culture, that the very idea that yoga wasn't even around in the 70s until this guy, Bikram Chowdhury, who I'm going to talk about, brought it to our shores, to Hollywood, California. Back in the 70s. But it just seems so odd to me today, the idea that we didn't have yoga before then, because it's everywhere now. You can't go to any shopping mall, any area of the country where they don't tout yoga. But I'll tell you what they're not touting. They're not touting Bikram yoga, because now the word Bikram, which I always thought in my pea-sized brain just meant hot. And I think a lot of people, when they hear the term Bikram yoga, assume that means hot yoga. No, Bikram's the guy's name. And Bikram Chowdhury is the guy, as I said, who started it in Hollywood, California in the mid 70s. And so let me just tell you a little bit about this. This dude came to the United States as a guru of a certain style of yoga that came from a dude in India named B.C. Ghosh. And he essentially stole all of B.C. Ghosh's developed yoga training, which at the time was considered to be extreme and kind of fringe type of lifestyle stuff, and brought it here and packaged it. And that's what this guy was good at. He was good at packaging these things up for American, Western audiences. And what he found was a kind of a perfect storm in LA. Leave it to LA. Because there's all these people that are willing to look for that next great lifestyle shift, or that next great opportunity to find some lifestyle advantage. And they found it in this guy. And so he created this style of yoga that was in 41 degrees Celsius rooms, which I always just, with Celsius, I double it and add 30, right? 41 makes 82, makes 112. 112 degrees, right? That's a friggin' hot room. I don't know if you've done many things in 100-degree plus weather for much longer than a couple minutes, but these are hour-long or 90-minute-long sessions, and this guy is killing you. And not only is he killing you, but he's ripping on you, like not just physically, like he's telling you what a fatso you are. He's telling you what a loser you are. He's telling you that you came from nothing. You're going to die with nothing. That everything that you bring to this room brings everybody down, and you're not leaving this room until you become somebody new. And then he would bend you into position that would cause injury, and then he would stand on top of your back while you're in some type of weird prone position just to prove that he could. And this thing
sounds like family dinner at the Lippett's.
This thing's catching on. People are like, "There, give me more. Tell us more about this friggin' yoga." He's beating the crap out of people and insulting them, and they're paying him insane amounts of money in LA. And before you know it, people are asking him to franchise. And thus begins the story of the Bikram world, because he's now charging thousands and thousands of dollars for people to become disciples of the Bikram yoga. And in doing so, the ability to open up franchises all over the United States, which is exactly what happened. I mean, this thing spread like wildfire throughout the United States. I didn't know anything about yoga, and even I had heard of Bikram yoga. It was everywhere. But here's the deal: is that in order to become a Bikram like certified yogi, you had to go through his course. You had to pay insane amounts of money, and then here's the catch: he had to sign off on you personally. And this is where a lot of, as it turns out, and the Netflix documentary, and I should pause here just to let you know, this is a documentary on Netflix. It's I can't remember exactly how many episodes it is, but it's multiple episodes. It's a very fast moving and very worthwhile discovery of who Bikram was, what the process was, what led to his incarceration, and ultimately what led to the trial of Bikram yoga, and then eventually what became of Bikram yoga, which is to say that the whole thing disintegrated. And that's not ruining anything. That's why you don't see Bikram yoga anymore. So let me get back. But when folks were ready to certify as guru, typically young, attractive women, he would frequently, as is alleged in the Netflix documentary, bring them to his hotel room, or bring him to his office, or bring them to his house. And there he would molest them. He would molest them sometimes multiple times. In one case, he raped a woman with the woman's husband and children in the next room. He stole money. He cajoled money. He extorted people. He forced people into situations that they weren't comfortable with. And it turns out that as the case against him started to build, like it became like an avalanche of accusations of all the terrible things that this guy was doing while building his empire. And, not just rape and kidnapping but also like extortion and financial crimes and, all these terrible things that are starting to come to light. Here's the amazing epilogue to the story, and that is he denies it all. He refuses to face the courts here in the United States. No one knows where he is. He supposedly was in Mexico City, then he was in India, but he's not here. No one knows where he is. He has millions and millions, and many, many, probably tens of millions of dollars, if not more, socked away from this. And to date, he has never faced a single charge, not a single charge from any of this. So the dude's gone, and all that's left is just this wreckage of Bikram yoga that is strewn across the United States. And so there is no more Bikram. All of those studios, all those certifications are gone. The concept of hot yoga, which, to be fair, he did introduce to American audiences, It still exists and it's thriving here in the U.S., but the name Bikram shall not be spoken ever again. And that is the story that comes from Netflix. I think they do an excellent job. It's a well-done documentary. It is interesting. Having just taken yoga myself, I know how easy it is to be exposed to a situation where wounded people are seeking more from their yogis. And I get how people could be exploited in that situation. I totally understand it. And it just does bring up an underlying theme here in the US, which is there are a number of stories that are coming to light about lifestyle choices that are fraught with crimes, opportunities to exploit people, not just with yoga, but with all kinds of different paths to so-called enlightenment. And I think this is just one terrible story associated with probably a lot of similar stories in all kinds of different ways. A number of episodes back, I talked about the Nexium self-help group that turned into a flat-out cult. Felt like a similar vibe story to this, although I didn't hear about so much extortion and financial crimes, but it is a similar theme. So I am starting to be more sensitive to the fact that a lot of these lifestyle channels that are available to us can be fraught with opportunities to be exploited. So I'll just throw that out there as a warning for all our viewers. Don't be exploited. Be very careful. And also be careful with hot yoga. You can get sick. So I'll pause there. It's a good watch. I enjoyed it, and I hope you guys check it out.
What you said during your review that he just took off or whatever? Like, where did he go? Did he take a bunch of money overseas or something?
Yeah, that's the suggestion. They don't know where he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just somewhere hot.
Right?
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, if you're not going to watch the whole thing, what is interesting to watch is him just abusing these people, because the guy, being such a narcissist that he was, videotaped himself, right? There's a million videotapes of him leading these classes in California, and he just loved to show on video all the ways to so-called better people by abusing them. And I think at the time he thought that was helping to market the style. But it's now looking at it through this lens, it's not so attractive. So
you recommend it?
I do recommend it. It's interesting, and I think it's a definitely a worthy watch. I know yoga might not be your thing, but I don't know that yoga is really what the story is. I think it's about all of our the potential to be exploited in seeking new things in our lives.
Very cool.
So check it out.
Great. Good review.
Cool. So let's go. Speaking of going back, let's go back in time to a simpler time.
To a much simpler time.
A much simpler time when Michael J. Fox ruled the world.
Yeah.
And Teen Fox was just a feather in his cap. Take us through the world of Teen Wolf.
Yeah, man.
Teen Fox and Teen Wolf.
Teen Fox, Teen Wolf. We're close. It's one of those. First off, I want to say thank you for teaching me how to pronounce that Kanye special, because I had no idea what the name of that thing was. So at least I'm going to take one thing away from this, and hopefully somebody out there also learned a little something tonight. But before we dial it back, last time I was here, we talked about Flash Gordon, because I am a child of the 80s and I love Flash Gordon. But coming in a close second of my all-time favorite movies is Teen Wolf. And Teen Wolf teaches us a variety of lessons when we watch the show, but the one, I think it's the very first movie where we heard the phrase, with great power comes great responsibility. Exactly. And that's exactly what the lesson was here. One of the many lessons that we learned from this awesome movie. And, the movie itself was kind of a breakout hit. Michael J. Fox didn't know it was going to do anything for him. Matter of fact, he wasn't all that really on board with doing it. And if you read his latest book, he talks about it a little bit, but he has nothing good to say about the movie. He hated being in the costume. He wasn't able to eat solid foods while in makeup or anything along those lines. And although it was only a 21-day shoot, It was a very, very long 3 weeks for Michael J. Fox. But the movie starts off with teen angst. Being 13 years old in 1985, this movie spoke to me in that regard. We see we see Scott, or Michael J. Fox. Scott is the character that he plays. We see him suddenly start to go through some changes, and they're unexpected changes. His voice gets deep and gravelly in certain scenarios. He's finding hair in weird places, which at 13 years old, I think we probably related to that as well. So another connection point there in the movie. He has the hot chick that he's in love with and he just wants to date, but he's also kind of a nerd. So of course the hot chick isn't giving him the time of day. But then we have Boof over here, and Boof is a cutie, but she's also the girl next door, not the type of girl that Scott wants to get with because he wants to be one of the cool kids. Well, one of the problems with Scott also is that he's not exactly an athlete, and he's on the basketball team, and by far the Beavers, which was the name of the school's mascot, the Beavers were the worst basketball team you ever saw in your life. In the midst of one of their horrible games where their coach is on the sidelines literally eating boiled eggs because he has no interest in coaching the game, we see Scott get dogpiled, and lo and behold, next thing you know, boom, we have ourselves a werewolf on the basketball court. And not only is he a werewolf, he is a very talented ball player when he becomes a werewolf. So out of the blue, Scott now takes over the game. He is the hairy Michael Jordan of 1985, and we see him slam dunking and stealing and making three-point shots, and you name it, he's doing it. He is the all-around one-man team. And this does a lot for him. It gives him popularity with all the cool kids, with all the nerd kids. He's kind of a champion of everybody. And in a way, we see that he has superpowers. But in many of the superhero movies we see these days, everybody's trying to hide their identity. Well, Scott, no, not him. He wants to come out and he wants everybody to know that he is the Teen Wolf because now his life is changing. Suddenly the hot chick has an interest in him, but whoa, she's got a boyfriend that's really tough and hardcore, and he's not scared of the wolf. So now we have this antagonistic relationship between Scott and the hot girl's boyfriend, and of course that comes to a head at the school dance where Scott ends up wolfing out and lashing out and actually slashing at the boyfriend. And he realizes at that time, man, I think I'm taking this Teen Wolf thing too far. I don't know what to do. So, of course, there's a heart-to-heart with Dad. He comes to grip with his wolfdom, decides that he's going to continue playing basketball, and lo and behold, they've made it to the championships because of all the talent that Scott possesses when he's the hairy basketball wonder. But he decides he's going to go to the championship game as Scott, not as Teen Wolf. So we see the team struggle. We see the protagonist, the hot girlfriend's boyfriend's on the opposing basketball team. They go at it. Lo and behold, it comes down to the final foul of the game. And Scott is fouled, and he goes to the free throw line they're down by 1 point. They need 2 points to win. And what happens? Well, of course, as Scott, not the wolf, we see him sink both of those baskets and go on to become a champion. So there's so much awesomeness in this movie, and it just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. Not only that, there's this amazing soundtrack, and people say it's not really amazing. I think it was amazing, and I can still listen to it to this day and kind of get chilled up a little bit. But it's the surprise factor of the fact that it became a hit and somewhat of a cult hit after the fact. And if you look back in 1985, Michael J. Fox was on top of the world. He had the #1 movie with Back to the Future. He had the #2 movie coming out, making $31 million with Teen Wolf, which blew everybody's mind. Not only did he secure the #2 spot on the movie charts, but it actually spawned a cartoon, which failed miserably. It didn't feature Michael J. Fox. The only returning character to the cartoon was actually the gentleman that played his dad in the movie. He lent his voice talents to the cartoon. It went for a total of 21 episodes, and it was just really, really, really bad. But to top that off, as if the cartoon wasn't bad enough, later on we get a sequel to the movie called Teen Wolf 2, as in T-O-O, as in also. But Michael J. Fox had had enough of the hairy costume and decided he was going to pass on this one. So we snagged Jason Bateman, who is now of Ozark fame. And I mean, he's not just of Ozark fame. Everybody knows who Jason Bateman is. And he's just an amazing actor. But at the time, he was struggling. And Teen Wolf 2 kind of put a dent in things and really put a damper on his career because Teen Wolf 2 wasn't nearly as creative, as fun, as lighthearted, and as endearing as its predecessor. Really, it had none of the same qualities whatsoever. It did try to copy the format. We did have a sports theme, but this time Jason Bateman goes to college and he wants to be a veterinarian, but he has no skills as a veterinarian. He ends up wolfing out and goes into boxing for some odd reason, and he wolfs out and wins the college boxing title as a wolf. Comes to grips with the fact, same thing, it's the same thing, but it's just not that heartwarming feature that we had in the first one. So I still to this day go back and watch Teen Wolf. I probably should watch it at least once, maybe twice a year even. It's just a great movie for me. It's a lot of fun. And again, there's a lot of very, very valuable lessons. And again, the primary one is the one that was just reinforced in Spider-Man No Way Home when May told us once again that with great power comes great responsibility.
I read that the person who added that to the Teen Wolf movie was a writer on the Spider-Man comics.
That is correct. I think it's Jim Loeb, I believe, wrote for Spider-Man. He wrote for Batman. He wrote for the Hulk. He wrote for several comics. And, that's one of the things that they look back on and they talk about. It was really a superhero movie. And even if you look at the cover art that you had up just before I started my presentation here, he's sitting there with the jacket pulled back and he's exposing, there you go, the chest logo, just like we see Superman do time after time. So this was essentially a superhero movie in disguise as a lighthearted, yet almost confusing genre of a film. Because if you think back in the 80s, horror movies were all the rage back then. We had The Lost Boys with the vampire gigs. We had Fright Night, another vampire gig. We had Nightmare on Elm Street, which came out at a similar time. And that was all the horror genre. And they introduced this movie, but it wasn't a horror movie. It wasn't a comedy movie. It wasn't a family movie. Where's it supposed to fit? It didn't really fit. And that was another one of the things that made it such a surprising hit.
So two things
I'd
like
like
to
say.
say.
You have a fan, Larry.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that.
It's my friggin' brother.
Well, thank you.
That's Richard Von Lippy Pants. So first off, I can't believe I'm going to say this on worldwide.
I'll say it first. I haven't.
Come on, it's okay.
I've never seen it.
Oh my God, for real?
I've never seen Teen Wolf.
Great movie.
I always hear about it. It's like a gap in the repertoire. I recognize it. I just haven't corrected it yet.
You got to go back.
Where does one find it? Is it on Netflix or where do you get it?
I think you can actually watch it for free on YouTube, to be honest with you.
It's interesting. It's a 21-day shoot because like a Sharknado is an 18-day shoot.
Yeah, it was a 21-day shoot because there was a break in filming for Family Ties because Meredith Baxter, I think Bernie was at the time. I think now she's just Meredith Baxter. She was actually giving birth. So they had a break from production, which opened up the opportunity for Michael J. Fox to do something on the side. He had 3 weeks to do it, so they crammed it all in.
And of course, Michael J. Fox worked with Justine Bateman.
Yes, Justine Bateman, where we have Jason Bateman's sister. They were together on Family Ties.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me personally, it just kind of worked out because even when I was a teen, I thought I was going to be a stockbroker. And I think I thought that because of Michael J. Fox's Alex P. Keaton on Family Ties. I mean, that was just the ideal family structure that I wanted as a kid. I mean, I grew up in a trailer and my dad smoked weed and, beat the shit out of my mom on the reg. So I don't beat my wife. That was not a Freudian slip. But I would see that show and I'd be like, man, I would love to have a family like that. So I think I just had that tie or that emotional relationship there with Michael J. Fox because he emulated everything that I wanted at the time.
I'm going to go on record, Larry, and guess that you loved Secret of My Success.
Oh yeah,
with Michael J. Fox.
It was amazing. Yeah, coming out of the mailroom and going through and falling in love with the executive.
Is that the one where they're having sex and he's kind of got the thing going with
yes,
can?
Yes,
and
yes.
He's in the really bad apartment and they're next door doing their thing and he starts to orchestrate it. Yes, that's.
I will comment though. It's true. I haven't seen Teen Wolf, but some of those other kind of the genre of the time. And you mentioned Fright Night. I freaking loved Fright Night.
The original Fright Night was amazing.
It's such a good movie. And what was the other vampire one you mentioned?
The Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys. I loved The Lost Boys. I mean, this Teen Wolf was kind of right into that zone there. There was a lot of really great TV and movie stuff going on there. I know it's the 80s. I know the CGI was the worst makeup and crap that you've ever seen, but but it was still pretty good. So I am going to remind myself to check out Teen Wolf. I
Yeah.
think I probably will.
I'm gonna
enjoy
watch it again because it's been so long since I've seen it. So
It's a lot of fun, guys.
I'll watch it too. Ron,
I'm gonna have to make my wife watch it.
Ron and I will both watch it, and we'll give a tag on next week.
We'll check it out. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, that was awesome.
yeah, Rick,
Nice
nice
job.
job there. Great
Nice
job.
job.
2 for
Larry.
2, bro.
Thanks.
You rock. All right. So let's get on to the next one. Sal's going to take us through. We just lost the director of this movie recently.
Yeah.
But take us through Draft Day.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying this. If you didn't know the name of this movie yet, if Jeff didn't tell you, and I told you that there was a movie starring Kevin Costner, Jennifer Gardner, Dennis Leary, Frank Langella, Sam Elliott, Chadwick Boseman, Rosanna Arquette, and Terry Crews. If I said all those people are in a movie and it still didn't make the money that Teen Wolf made, because that made $31 million is what Larry just said.
In 1985.
In 1985. And this movie I'm about to review did $29 million. It cost $25 million to make, and it only made $29 million. It was kind of a flop, but I really like the movie. I'm going to get into it. It's just called Draft Day. Maybe because it's a sports movie, it didn't do well with the ladies wanting to take their man to the movies, you know. But anyway, it starts Kevin Costner and Jennifer Gardner, and it's just basically about the draft day, about the NFL draft. And it's fictional in 2014, but they have a lot of NFL people in it, but all the names that they're drafting are all fictional and stuff. And it's basically about draft day. And Kevin Costner is the general manager of the Cleveland Browns, of all teams, really, really bad NFL team, and it's in reality. And they have the number 7 pick in the draft. And basically, it's just about the whole movie takes place in like 15 hours before the draft. And it just follows the life of Kevin Costner and probably real life general managers on how it really happens behind the scenes before the draft. And these guys are just calling teams up, trying to make trades, trying to figure out who's taking who. And Kevin Costner's freaking out because he's got to turn this team around. Dennis Leary is the coach, and he's all over him about taking certain people, certain guys. And he decides to trade the number 7 pick, gives away 3 number 1 picks for the following 3 years to get the number 1 pick, to get the hotshot quarterback named Bo Callahan, who's from Wisconsin, again, fictional. And Sam Elliott plays the Wisconsin head football coach and has a little dialogue scene with Costner, which is really funny. There's actually a little bit of comedy in this movie as well. There's just some hidden really comedy stuff in it. And Jennifer Gardner plays the like CEO or the financial person of the team. She's having a relationship with Kevin Costner, so he's dealing with that during the 15 hours of getting ready for the draft. The owner of the team is giving him shit, saying you better make some good picks, or your ass is grass. You're going to be fired. He's got that, dealing with that. His dad died about 2 weeks earlier before the draft, and he was the general manager before him. So the mother comes to the stadium to want to bury his ashes on the 50-yard line. So he's dealing with that. He's like, Mom, I gotta work here. I gotta pick a team. And it was just so much craziness happening, behind the scenes of this. And it's probably a reality. So he finally he does that. And then this is the part I love, because not only sometimes do these people draft players, but they're drafting their personalities. They want to find out everything about their draft pick. They'll go way back. They didn't do this in this movie, but in reality, they'll talk to your high school football coach. They'll talk to your 3rd grade teacher. They want to know everything about you. Did you get trouble in high school? Are you an asshole to people? That kind of stuff, because that's character. And Kevin Costner kind of starts digging into this Bo Callahan, and he's already made the trade. And he's just having second thoughts. He's like, in the back of his mind, he's like, I don't want this guy, but what am I going to do now? So he starts talking to him. And there was an incident where he turned 21 years old when he was in high school, and nobody went to his birthday party, and like none of the players went to his birthday party. And Kevin Costner thought that was very interesting. Like, why? What's up with that? And so one of the last thing he talks to Bo Callahan one of the last times. And he says, and it was like 2 hours before the pick, or maybe an hour before the pick. And he asked Bo Callahan, just one question. did your teammates go to your 21st birthday party? Because Bo Callahan didn't know that he researched it. And Bo Callahan said, I don't even remember that night, which was like probably a year ago or whatever. So Kevin Costner says, okay, yeah, I don't even remember mine, Okay, have an exciting night. Blah blah. Hangs up the phone. And anyway, he then he starts making moves. So now people are picking, and he makes a deal with the I believe it was with the Houston Oilers. I forgot, but he makes another trade, and I'm sorry, hang on. So he has the number 1 pick. He doesn't take Bo Callahan. He takes the original guy that he was going to take with the 7th pick that he could have got anyway, and he ends up taking. Actually, it was Chadwick Boseman's character. And he plays a hell of a linebacker for Ohio State, and he ends up taking this kid. And now everybody's freaking out. He gave away 3 number 1 picks to get a guy that he could have got anyway. So then he starts making some moves with other teams, and he ends up having a great draft day, basically. And it was just a really, really cool movie. It's just, like I said, it's all fictional, but it's about the draft day, the NFL draft. And I thought it was a really cool movie. I was shocked to see that it only made that much money. Also, which is really ironic, the 2014 draft ends up being Cleveland ends up making like a bunch of crazy moves, but instead of not taking the hotshot quarterback, they actually do take the hotshot quarterback named Johnny Manziel, who ends up being a bust. You can't. It's reality. What's the saying? Reality becomes
matches
art form.
Art imitating life.
Art imitating life.
There you go.
Right.
And,
So Sally, why did this flop? Like, was it poorly structured, or just?
No, it was really good. I thought it was a really good movie. It had, like I said, it had big stars in it. Very good acting. I mean,
I'm always fascinated by
things that. I think it's the football aspect of it. Think about it.
I have a guess.
It goes to couples, right? They always say this in comedy. Comedy, the woman gets the man out to the comedy club, right? So the woman gets the man out to the movies, I think, a lot of times. And I just think a lot of women didn't want to go see this movie, and I think maybe that had something to do with it. And I just want to say this, besides maybe Sylvester Stallone, because he did like 8 Rocky movies or whatever the hell, I think Kevin Costner is probably going to go down as the greatest sports movie actor of all time.
I think you might be right.
Any argument there? I mean, I don't know. That guy's just had so many. Not that this was a great hit, but he's just so good in these sports movies, and he was excellent in this. I give it 5 tomato sauce jars. I love it, man. I love this movie.
5 tomato sauce jars.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and even though it didn't make any money, they barely made enough money to pay Costner, but. I really enjoyed it, and if you're a sports fan out there, or if you're just a Jennifer Gardner fan, she's just so beautiful throughout the whole movie.
It's funny. Oh, sorry, Jeff. I'll just real quick. Molly's Game, which is a movie I love, having nothing to do about sports, but she was the athlete, and of course Kevin Costner played the dad coaching her as an ass. So even movies not about sports, it's still about sports with Kevin Costner.
Oh, someone told me to watch Molly's Game. I'm going to watch that movie this weekend. It was already on my list. It's about the poker, right?
Yeah,
that's the poker one.
So my thoughts on
that movie.
I hadn't heard of it either. It's called Molly's Game. It's with Jessica Chastain, who just rightfully won the Oscar.
She just won the Oscar for Tammy Faye Baker movie. That
which
movie
you can hear reviewed by me on an earlier episode.
Dude, that movie was amazing. I loved every second of it.
We are hitting these Oscar movies.
Ron called out Coda last November. I believe if you were to replay my Eyes of Tammy Faye, I believe I probably actually said it felt like you were watching the person who was going to win the Oscar.
You did say that. I seem to recall you saying that, actually.
So my thoughts on Costner is amazing, but Costner is kind of peaked around draft day is 2014. He peaks around Bodyguard's 1992. Tin Cup is 96, but Tin Cup is sandwiched between Waterworld and The Postman. And so Love of the Game comes in 1999, which is a Sam Raimi movie where it's a baseball player. But 3,000 Miles to Graceland. You start to there's that whole decade where he's in stuff but he's not the Field of Dreams, the bodyguard, JFK guy anymore. You know what I mean? So
Well, he fell
when a
apart
movie,
until he started doing cowboy movies. Once he made that comeback and started being a cowboy, then he started crushing it again with Open Range. That was phenomenal. Of course, now he's
Yellowstone now.
doing Yellowstone now. Yeah, if he plays a cowboy, I mean, it's over.
He's great. And Draft Day is a great movie, but Draft Day is kind of a boring title, in my opinion. The poster, I don't think the poster really tells you anything.
Yeah, you know what? That's a
You know
good
what I mean?
call.
Like,
That's a good
you know what I
call.
mean? It's like,
It had more than just that. You're right. That poster makes it look like it's just about Kevin Costner drafting some NFL. But there were so many good actors in this. Why didn't they maybe try to put those people into the poster somehow?
I saw that movie in the theater. I enjoyed it. It deserved more, but I think it was just one of those things. Like sometimes these movies just don't pop.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner is this guy. He wasn't that guy. Coming after Field of Dreams, that's the poster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
good
I
point.
don't
And
know.
another part of the movie I liked was that felt real was when before these guys got drafted, like Chadwick Boseman, him crying on the couch when he got drafted #1. That felt so real to me, man. I got goosebumps, and obviously, just knowing, obviously that guy's not around anymore, and it's just seeing him so happy on that couch with his family. I got choked up, man, and just the other players that got drafted too. Even when the so-called asshole Bo Callahan, I don't know who played him, but even when he got drafted, I was happy for him. Even though it was fictional, I'm like, all right, well, at least he got drafted. And but I thought it was a good movie, man. I'm a big sports movie fan, so other people might not give it 5 stars, but I did. So
We appreciate your love of the game.
definitely.
All right, let's get to the final show. Let's see here. Where's my thing? All right. So the final show to discuss today is called Family Tree. And so let me just say, I did not see this when it first came out. So I just literally watched it last week. And it is a Christopher Guest and Jim Pittick creation. It was originally thought of, Christopher Guest wanted to do something on genealogy. He was getting into genealogy, and his writing partner at the time, he approached Jim Pittick. And Jim Pittick is, if you think back to Best in Show, and Fred Willard and Jim Pittick were the ones broadcasting. He was the British guy who was kind of, taking Fred Willard, the ignorant
straight man?
American. Yes, he was the straight man, but in turn turned it into comic gold. So the idea of this movie or this show, Family Tree, they end up pitching it as a television series because the concept of exploring genealogy, like a tree, has many branches, and didn't seem like it was something you could really effectively fit into a 90-minute movie. So they worked together, Jim Pittick and Christopher Guest, to create Family Tree. It was bought by HBO, and on this show we talk a lot about British humor, usually when Brian Green's here. This show is a perfect split between British humor and American humor. The way the show kind of starts is Tom Chadwick, who is brilliantly played by Chris O'Dowd. He's kind of like the main character in this.
Sorry.
Didn't get the private chat note about not coughing into the microphone, huh?
No mute button.
Yeah. So Tom Chadwick, his great aunt dies, and he is bequested this just stuff. It's and one of them's like a picture of a person in kind of like an army kind of guy, and so he starts to get real interested. One, because he's got nothing else to do because he just lost his job and his girlfriend just dumped him. So he decides he's going to discover his roots, and it's an 8-episode show. It takes place on HBO, as I mentioned, and this is his quest to track down his genealogy. So his sister is played by Nina Conti, who her character, all these characters have extensive backstory in any Christopher Guest production. She's had something that happened in her childhood and has a pet monkey that she has in her hand that is always there and is just a member of the family, and she talks. It was meant to help her, get her feelings out, but it just never went away. So Nina Conte is a professional ventriloquist, in addition to an amazing actor. And it's an amazing thing. The greatest thing about the Christopher Guest things is they find these threads and these just weird angles on things and just kind of play it out. And it's like, I don't know how, as a normal person, you never would think of certain threads like this. So she's the sister. And then Jim Piddock, who was one of the co-creators, he's got a character called Mr. Feister, and he runs a shop where it helps him dig into the genealogy. Michael McKean plays Chris O'Dowd's father.
So good.
And then Tom Bennett plays Pete, who's Tom Chadwick's, Chris O'Dowd's buddy in arms that comes with him through this journey. So through the journey, he's one little piece leads to another. Oh, this was your grandfather. I'm not going to give it away because it's comedy, so some of the reveal comes from that humor. But it kind of just unfolds. And the first 4 is unfolding in the UK, in the Britain where they live. And then he starts to connect with Ed Begley Jr., who's a Chadwick in the United States. So he's invited to the Los Angeles to come meet the family there. So he comes to LA and they start to unravel different things there. Oh, this is your mother. She was a Native American. This and this. They go to Indian, Indian land to learn more about that. And they run into Kevin Pollak, and then they find out something else. And, so it just sort of kind of plays out. And Fred Willard, of course, is in the American side. And Christopher Guest plays this really great character as well, as he always does. A lot of times in the later movies, he played like these really understated, just amazing characters. Where like in Best in Show, it was much bigger part of it. Yeah. But all of them are directed by Christopher Guest, and it's just really, I loved it. Like I originally was I put on a couple episodes just to kind of check it out, and then just got sucked right into it. They're like 30-minute episodes, something like that. And I thought it was great. The sad thing about it is that it didn't get picked up for a second season. So it would have been so great to just kind of explore it or pick a different kind of concept, Christopher Guest concept, and kind of play it out this way as well. I enjoyed it as an 8-episode series, that style of how they do it, the mockumentary type stuff. And this really, I thought, was really, really good. Did any of you ever see this? Or
No,
I never saw it. Never even heard of it. What? I'm sorry. What network did you say it was?
It's on HBO.
HBO. Okay.
Yeah.
I heard of it, but I never watched it.
And I love Christopher Guest. I think the whole team is immensely talented, and just everybody who you named associated with this, I have mad respect for. So I have no doubt. And as we've talked about on previous shows, British humor, I freaking love British humor. So the fact that they mix it well and they have the right team in place, I have no doubt I would love this. When did you say this show was produced?
This was from 2013.
Okay, so it's 8, 9 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty old. I remember when I interviewed Ed Begley Jr. Name drop. Usually I dig into stuff, but it was one of those things that I ended up watching Mascots, which was a movie they made after this in the same, Christopher Guest and Jim Piddock wrote that movie. And this was on the list and he mentioned it. So it was on my radar. And finally I just, that became my treadmill show. And so, I figured I'll try it. What can it hurt? And Chris O'Dowd is amazing. It's just, I really became invested in the characters, and they do a really good job evolving the characters and kind of giving them some, they always do a great job of giving them real 360 kind of lives and things that they're into and quirks and all that kind of stuff. I think that's one of the really cool, unique things about all the Christopher Guest movies. Eugene Levy is not in it. That's the only thing. But they had a lot of the cast. Jane Lynch isn't in it. Those are the two that I think.
She's so great.
She's
Catherine
amazing.
O'Hara is not in it. You know, those are like some of the ones that off the top of my head that you know, are the regular troupe. But I guess they couldn't get everyone in. So
I'm not huge on British humor, but you had me at Best in Show. So you know that's up there in my got to be in my top 10, if not my top 5 movies. I love it. So if this is up there, then I definitely need to check
It's
this
a great
out.
one.
yeah, it's the British humor is good. It's good. It's you know, it's definitely great. And then there's some payoffs in the American side of the
How is Jane Lynch? Is she
She's not in it. She's not in it.
Oh, she's not in it. Oh,
No,
okay.
yeah. Jane Lynch is one of the people not in it.
Got it.
Yeah, Fred Willard is hilarious as always.
As always.
And it's just too good. It's just too good, really. It is. So I loved it. It finishes, but it's open ended at the same time, so you don't feel like not having a season 2. That you're like, oh, I feel like I'm fine with the way it ended. But they left it so they could have kept going, but they also kind of ended it, if that makes sense. They
HBO was, and so it's on HBO right now. Was it produced by HBO or did they?
I believe it was made by. It might have been made by. Yeah. It's HBO. It's HBO.
So the reason I ask is that, you know, I think more than any other network out there, they have this sorry history of canceling shows too early. And you know, I talked about this way early ago. My very favorite show on HBO was Carnival, that they canceled after 2 freaking seasons.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
You know, and there's a bunch of other HBO shows that they also canceled that had huge followings at the time. So I wonder, I have to believe at the time when they canceled this, a bunch of people were bummed out about it.
I think it was costs, but it was one of those decisions that got made, and they didn't actually try to work with Christopher Guest or Jim Pittick to work through that issue. They just canceled it.
They just did it. Yeah.
But it is totally worth checking out. I mentioned the fact that it ends well, because sometimes like I'll be like, oh, there wasn't a season 2. I'll just skip it. I'll go on to something else. Right. But I think this survives extremely well as an 8-episode run. I mean, you'll feel very satisfied watching this. 100%.
I'll check it out.
I put the Jeff Dwoskin guarantee on it. Woohoo! All
That's
right.
a good review, Jeff.
Yeah, very good.
How did you, just out of curiosity, how did you think to review this one? Like, where did this come from?
I was interviewing one of the people involved with it.
Got it. Okay. Well, there you go. I guess that would explain it.
Yeah. So there you go. So very cool. All right, awesome. Larry, thank you so much for joining us.
Nice job, Larry.
You're a good guest.
I appreciate it.
Remind everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me across all social media, but I'm really trying to build out that Instagram. So once again, in case you forgot, it's the Larry Roberts over on IG. So if that's it. My podcast is You're the Boss, and I have Readily Random Media as my company, so readilyrandom.com. You can find me there. If you have a podcast, you're looking to launch a podcast, or you're trying to get your podcast to grow, give me a call and we can work together to make it happen.
Nice.
Awesome. Larry, I want to talk to you about something I'm working on after.
Cool.
Cool. Ron, say goodnight.
Yeah. Hey, catch me on Wednesday nights here, crossing the streams, and on your local Delta Airlines. Back in the skies, my friends. Going to tell you what our friends at the Delta Entertainment Network has to say. And we'll talk about that hopefully next time.
And then before I get to Sal, you can check out Sal. You can check out drink. You can check out the Sal and Bob show, and you can check out my podcast, Live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show, on all your podcast platforms. Sal, say goodnight.
Besides the podcast you just promoted, thank you. SalDemilio.com. Thursday, April 7th, if you're in the Michigan area, although I think it might be sold out, but we do Genetti's every month. Go to Genetti'sHoleInTheWallTheater.com or SalDemilio.com for any of my show dates. That's about it.
Awesome. And you can check out my podcast at JeffIsFunny.com. Proud to have just completed the rollout of my Happy Days trilogy of interviews. Potsy, Mrs. C, and Ralph Mouth. So that's exciting.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
New, epi-
man.
new episode tonight with Spencer Garrett from Winning Time. Hook up from my pal Brett Allen. Check out his show, Brett Allen Show. And so that's it. All right. This was exciting. Thanks everyone for coming again. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow The Jeff DeWaskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff DeWaskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us. Listen to our podcasts live from Detroit, The Jeff DeWaskin Show, The Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.